Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Upside at Home class. This week we're doing a Treat Yourself class. This class is going to be focused on the lower body, so we're going to be trying to loosen up and activate the hips, the glutes and the legs. So this class will be split into 3 different segments. The first segment is going to be a stretch, second segment is going to be a release, and the third is going to be an activate. I'm going to go through it. It's going to be pretty slow. We're going to be holding the stretches for a couple of minutes. If you feel like you want to sort of hold them for a little bit longer, you can pause it. The equipment you need for today's class will be a foam roller and like a spiky ball. If you don't have a spiky ball, lacrosse ball, cricket ball, tennis ball, anything that's sort of firm enough to create a bit of pressure on some of those muscles. Yeah, so that's that. And for the activation, if you've got any sort of resistance bands, they'll be pretty handy as well. Yeah, so we're going to start off with a bit of a stretch. Let's get into it. So we're going to start with the hips and work our way down. Just if there's any sort of neural tension coming from sort of through the glutes or the hips, we can ease that off so it makes the lower body stretches a little bit easier. So we're going to start with just a pigeon pose stretch. So down into sort of all fours, bring one knee up towards between your hands, foot across to the other side of your body, and then dropping the weight back onto the other knee, and just falling back into that. You should feel the stretch sort of through the hip, through the glutes, and then if you want to get a little bit more, you can just drop down. We'll start a little timer here so we know how long we're going for on these. So we're just going to be holding these for around about a minute on each side, and then moving on to the next ones. So the idea with the stretch, you want to sort of hold it long enough so that the intensity drops off. It might feel a little bit intense or sharp at the start. Focusing on your breathing, relaxing, take a big deep breath in, and breathing out. And you can kind of feel like you sink a little bit further into the stretch. It's just for another 20 seconds on here. As I said, I'm just going to be going through a minute on each of these. If you feel like you want longer or want to do them again, just pause the video and kick back off when you're ready to go. Alright, there we go, swapping sides. So coming back, left knee up sort of between the other legs, foot across, and then dropping down. I'm just going to hold it for another 20 seconds. The next stretch after this one, we're going to be doing a figure four. So working a bit more into those lateral glute muscles. There we go. So onto your back. So in that sort of setting up like if you were to do a bridge, popping an ankle onto the opposite knee, and then pushing your hand on the other knee and pushing. If you're near a wall, you can place this foot up onto a wall and you'll get more of a stretch. And you're just playing around with that knee position. That's good. Now swapping legs. Okay, so the next stretch we're going to be doing is the quads. So we're just going to be rolling onto our sides. Yep, coming out of that. Inside with the top leg, grabbing your ankle, and then straightening it and just pulling towards, pulling the heel up towards the bum. If you want to sort of increase that stretch a little bit more, if you squeeze your glutes together, it'll straighten the hip out even more. So you might feel like that top of the hip here might be trying to pull you up that way, just trying to keep it in a nice straight line. Nice, now we're just going to swap it to the other side. You just rolling over, grabbing the ankle, heel towards the bum. If you prefer, you can also do this standing up. So after this stretch, we're going to do a quad stretch. Sorry, this is the quad stretch, we're going to do a hip flexor stretch. Go. So we're going to come up into a lunge position, and then driving the hip forward, and then just trying to keep your spine nice and neutral, vertical up towards the ceiling. Just trying to feel that stretch through the front of the hip there. Feel like you can drive forward a little bit more, just do that. None of these stretches should be painful. Okay, now we're just going to swap onto the other side. Okay, and the next stretch we're going to do is a hamstring stretch. So, I'm going to come back up, place the foot down in front with the foot flat, bent knee, and then hands running down the shin towards our foot. Now with the bent knee, we're going to get a slightly higher hamstring stretch. And then after a minute, we're going to stay on the same leg and do a straight leg hamstring stretch. So this, you're always trying to push the hips back as you're leaning forward. comfortable. Now, just straighten the leg, pull the toe up, then try to keep your back straight, just slightly leaning forward, not going too far. Just as far, like so, having your hand on your leg and just working it down the shin as what's comfortable. Just 15 more seconds and we'll swap sides. So swapping to the other leg, bent knee, foot flat, and then just working down. That's 15 more seconds, and we're just going to straighten the knee, bring the toe up, and do a straight leg hamstring stretch. There we go, coming up, and into position. So after these, the hamstring, we're going to go down to the calf. And yeah, it's going to be another series of two stretches on the calf. There's two calf muscles we're trying to work, the gastrocnemius and the soleus, and depending on sort of what you're doing with your ankle and your knee, depends on where you're stretching, so we're going to go through both of those. So the 10 more seconds. There we go. Okay, so in sort of a push-up position, and then on the left, we'll go start the left side, trying to get the heel flat, knee straight. And this is working the gastrocnemius muscles, that top part, the two bellies. We're going to hold this for another 10 seconds and we're just going to swap over to the other side, and then we'll come back and work the soleus. There we go. So swapping over to the other foot, heel down, knee straight. You can do this up against the wall as well if you don't want to be stuck in a plank position for too long. Or just grab it onto the back of the chair. Anything where you can sort of bring the hip in front of the heel. one, same position. We're going to lift the heel up a little bit, bend the knee. You're going to feel this a lot lower down, closer to the ankle. Excellent, just 10 more seconds in that position, swap, and then we'll swap back over to the other foot. That's the end of the stretching segment. Alright, beautiful. There we go. And just onto the other foot. Bent knee, bent ankle. Almost that sort of sprinter's starting position. More seconds. There we go. So that is the end of the stretching component of this Treat Yourself class. Next, we're going to be grabbing the spiky ball and foam roller. So we're going to start with a couple of spiky ball exercises. I'll be using a lacrosse ball today. So, first one, we're going to work do the glutes. So, with this one, you can do this against the wall if it's too painful on the floor. But we're going to start just in a bridge position. We're going to be placing the ball just sort of underneath that crest but inside. So you feel like that crest on the hip around here, just beneath that into the glute, but sort of on that more top part of it. And there that goes. And then sort of working along the sacrum. So we're just going to be putting our weight down onto it. You should feel like a dull, achy sort of pain. We're just trying to relax into that pain. So we'll take a little bit of moving around to find that spot. Once you're on it, you'll know. You might get a little bit of a shooting pain down the leg, that's normal. They're the sort of areas we're trying to work, trying to relieve those muscles, those tissues are sort of highly sensitized, and the more sensitive they are, you know, we're just sort of trying to create this stimulus of pain for the body and the central nervous system to just wind it back down, make it less sensitive. So just a couple more seconds there. Alright, and the next one, we're going to roll onto our side. So with any of these, if you want to do it a little bit longer, just pause the video and we'll move on to the next one when you're ready. This one, we almost sideline, and then, you'll find that point of the hip, and then the bony part on the outside of the leg. You're trying to find that spot in between, and the hard part here is being able to relax yourself enough to be able to sink down on it. So to relax those superficial tissues and to let that ball sink into that deep muscle. This one you might get referral down to the outside of that leg, the lower leg, maybe even all the way down to the foot or ankle. That's normal. Good stuff. Alright. other side, putting the ball onto that right side, and then just manoeuvring around until you find that sort of dull, achy spot. You might need to just like play around with your foot position and knee position. Just find a spot where you can relax those tissues onto the ball. Yep. Alright, so now we're going to put the ball roll to our sides. And then get that ball into the side of the hip. Oh, this one's pinging. So this one's really good for if you've been sitting a lot. Yeah, just sort of the glutes don't really like that, especially the hips stuck in hip flexion. There we go. Alright, so we're just going to put the ball aside for a second. We're going to come back to that. So now we're going to get the foam roller out. So we're just going to foam roll the quads. I think everyone's done this before, but we're going to go through it now. So we're just trying to go probably 10 centimetres above the knee and then rolling it to about 10 centimetres below the hip. And back. Just trying to put as much pressure down as you're comfortable with. It's got to be a comfortable level of pain. The more you do it, the more you'll get used to it. A few more seconds there, and then we'll swap to the other leg. So a lot of people will foam roll their ITBs down the outside of their legs. It hurts a lot, and really just sort of pressing down onto one of your quad muscles. The ITB is mostly non-contractile tissue. If you want to make it, if you're feeling tight through the outside of the legs, best bet is to work the hip, like we did with the ball just prior to this. Nice, there we go. So now we're going to do the adductors. So like the groin muscles on the inside of the legs. So you're going to place it sort of running alongside your body, lying next to it, and then just rolling along that inside of the leg. Might have to reposition a few times. Swap sides. So after this, we're going to do the calves. So, placing on, so you can do both at once. So lifting up and rolling along. Or if you wanted more of a pressure down, you can place the opposite ankle over the top. You can slightly change your foot position to work different fibres of the calf muscles. No one enjoys the calves. Oh. We're going to swap sides. Alright, beautiful. So the next one, we're going to be putting our shoes off just for a second. Or if you don't have any on, you're off to a good start. We place the ball on the ground and then just rolling out the soles of our feet. Trying to start at the heel and working along some of those metatarsals or up to the arch of the foot, through the plantar fascia. If you've picked up running during the lockdowns or anything recently, your feet will definitely be letting you know about this. Beautiful. Okay, now swapping sides. Now the pressure you're putting down is purely dependent on how much you want to on this one. Make sure you sort of work toward the outside of the foot as well. The little toe needs some love too. A few more seconds, and that'll be the end of the release stage. If you want to go back and do some more time on some of those, feel free. Or if you've picked up anything sort of used down the track, that's good. Okay, so the next we are going to do is we're going to lay on our back and we are going to do some pelvic tilt. So just laying in this position. Now we're going to, in the neutral position, sorry, just got to find my words. It's always hard to explain this one. So with the pelvic tilt, we're trying to change the orientation of the pelvis. So in one position, we're trying to posteriorly tilt, flattening out the back and rolling up, sort of lifting up our tailbone. And then in the other way, we're rolling the other way, creating an arch in the lower back and tipping the tailbone down towards the floor. Now coming up and down. Now this takes a little bit of control through sort of some of the abdominal muscles, the lower back, the glutes, but we're just trying to sort of orientate the pelvis and just find a bit of control. You feel the hamstrings working in some spots. Now we're not trying to take it to the complete end range in both of them, we're just trying to articulate the spine and the pelvis through this. If you have a resistance band, you can place it on now, or you don't have to worry about it. And what we're going to do is tilt and then bring that up into a bridge. Hold for 3 seconds and then down and roll it back out. Tilt and again up. I'm just going to move through a few of these. I wish I didn't throw away the foam roller. I hope you haven't put yours away because we need it for the next activation exercise. Okay, so this next one, you're just going to have your knees sitting over and you're just going to straighten, right, straighten, left. Just hold it for a few seconds on each, just getting full activation through the quads. Beautiful. So you can get rid of that again. Next one, we're just going to do some calf pumps. So back into that position and just bouncing down. A few more seconds of that. And we're going to go up onto all fours. We're going to do some hip openers. So, all fours position, we're going to sort of take the leg out to a fire extinguisher, loop around to the knee to the ceiling, knee to chest, and then return. So we're just going to alternate sides. We're going to do this for 2 minutes. So a leg out to the back, knee to chest, and down. reverse the direction we go. So we're going to go knee to chest, out, around, and back. Knee to chest, out, to the back, and return. Chest, out. So you're trying to keep your hips pretty neutral and all the movement, so the pelvis neutral and the hips, all the movement coming from the hips. So that side. So now we'll come up. I'm just going to do some calf raises. Continue on with the calves, so just 2 legs and up. And lost balance. So after this we're going to do 2 sort of, well, one exercise and the next one will be sort of a bit of a compound exercise. So the next exercise is going to be side to side lunges. Or like a single leg wide squat, I guess we could call it. So we're just going to set up, wide step out to one side, drop down, come back up, and to the other side. And then to finish off, the last exercise we're going to do is a reverse lunge with a squat in the middle. So I'll show you how to do that when we start. Nearly done. Last one. Okay, so what we're going to do with this one is reverse lunge, squat. Reverse lunge, squat. So this isn't really supposed to be a workout, this one is just to sort of wake things up. If it's too strenuous, everything's awake, we're good to go. We're not trying to tire you out with this one. Two more. There we go. And that's this week's Treat Yourself class. Should be feeling pretty good, awake, heart going, blood pumping through the legs. Yeah, feeling pretty good. So that's that, and enjoy next week.